Imagine being on top of the world, ruling the runway, gracing magazine covers, and then suddenly finding yourself in a fierce battle with the very person who was supposed to be your mentor. Imagine a rivalry so intense it would span decades, play out in the media, and eventually become one of fashion's most legendary feuds. Today, we're diving deep into the jaw-dropping story of Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, the rise, the rivalry, and the reconciliation that shocked the fashion world to its core. The beginning, 2 stars on collision course. Before we get to the backstabbing, the accusations, and that infamous interview where it all came to a head, let's rewind because this story didn't begin with hatred. It started with a young girl's admiration. Tyra Banks was born on December 4th, 1973 in Inglewood, California. Growing up, she never saw herself as beautiful. In fact, she was teased mercilessly for her appearance. They called me giraffe, they called me light bulb head, I heard all the things, Tyra once revealed, but fate had other plans. At 15, while still in high school, Tyra was signed by Elite Model Management, launching what would become an extraordinary career. By 17, she was booking 25 runway shows. In her first season in Paris, an unprecedented achievement for a newcomer. Meanwhile, Naomi Campbell was already dominating the industry. Born on May 22, 1970 in London, Naomi was discovered at 15 while shopping in Covent Garden. By 1989, she had already made history as the first Black woman to appear on the cover of French Vogue. When Tyra entered the scene, Naomi was at her peak, one of the Big 6 supermodels alongside Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, Linda Evangelista, Claudia Schiffer, and Kate Moss. The stage was set for what would become fashion's most talked about rivalry. The tension builds, from mentor to competitor. Initially, their relationship seemed promising. Tyra idolized Naomi, seeing her as a trailblazer who had opened doors for Black models in an overwhelmingly white industry. When I first started modeling, I used to see Naomi all the time, Tyra recalled. I was like, oh my God, there's Naomi Campbell, the only other Black girl at the fashion shows. But what began as admiration quickly soured. As Tyra's star rose, tensions emerged. According to Tyra, Naomi saw her not as a sister-in-arms, but as competition in an industry that typically only had room for one Black supermodel at a time. I got to Paris, and it was very difficult, Tyra shared in a 2005 interview. Some models got out of fashion shows when they heard I was going to be in them. Naomi Campbell, who I used to look up to and love and adore, wasn't so happy about me being there. The fashion world watched as small slights escalated into outright hostility. Designers and insiders whispered about confrontations backstage at shows. Tyra claimed Naomi had her removed from runway shows, telling designers, "It's either her or me." The breaking point, public feud. By the mid-90s, the tension had become impossible to ignore. The media seized on the drama, pitting the two against each other in a narrative that painted Naomi as the established diva and Tyra as the ambitious newcomer. The rivalry reached its most public moment in 2005 when Tyra invited Naomi onto her talk show, The Tyra Banks Show, for what would become one of fashion's most uncomfortable televised moments. Sitting face to face, Tyra confronted Naomi about years of perceived mistreatment. I was going home crying to my mother, and she was like, "You're crying about Naomi Campbell?" Tyra said during the tense exchange. And I said, "Yes, but you don't understand, Mama. The one person I looked up to is treating me like I'm invisible." Naomi's response? Cool, measured, but unapologetic. "If I've ever done anything to you, I apologize," she said. But then added, "I'm not someone that sits and dwells on the past. I've moved so far from that." The interview left viewers shocked and the fashion industry buzzing. Had anything been resolved, or was this just another chapter in their ongoing drama? Behind the feud, the industry's role. To understand this rivalry fully, we need to look beyond personal differences to the systemic issues at play. In the 90s, the fashion industry often pitted models of color against each other, creating an environment where they felt they had to compete for the few spots allocated to non-white models. "They don't want too many of us in one show," Naomi once said about designers' attitudes toward black models. This scarcity mindset created a toxic atmosphere where models like Naomi and Tyra felt their positions were constantly threatened. Tyra herself acknowledged this, saying, "The industry was saying, look, you're a black woman, Naomi is a black woman, only one of you can do this." It's a painful reminder of how structural racism played a role in creating and fueling their conflict. The aftermath and evolution. After their televised confrontation, both women continued to build their empires far beyond the runway. Naomi remained a force in modeling while expanding into activism and philanthropy. Tyra revolutionized reality TV with America's Next Top Model, launched businesses, and became a prominent media personality. Over time, the intensity of their rivalry seemed to fade. In 2019, Tyra spoke about Naomi with newfound perspective. "I'm very sensitive to that word rivalry. I don't see that with me and her." For her part, Naomi has avoided revisiting the feud in recent years, focusing instead on her work with Fashion for Relief and mentoring younger models of color. The legacy of a legendary rivalry. Whether they like it or not, Naomi and Tyra's relationship has become part of fashion history, a complicated story of two groundbreaking women navigating an industry that wasn't built for them. Their rivalry reveals painful truths about the fashion world of the 90s, but their individual successes demonstrate their extraordinary resilience and talent. Both women shattered barriers and redefined what was possible for Black women in fashion and beyond. Today, thanks partly to their pioneering work, the runway is more diverse than ever. Models like Eduta Ketch, Paloma Elsesser, and Winnie Harlow walk shows where once upon a time there might have been only room for one. So was it really a bitter rivalry, or was it two exceptional women fighting for space in an industry that tried to limit them both? Whatever your take, one thing's certain, both Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks changed the face of fashion forever, leaving an indelible mark that continues to shape the industry today.